Hello. Today I wanted to walk through a solution that I have developed to help test your Dynamics 365 for finance and operations security. The solution is called the Security Test Workspace, and it takes the best of your AX 2012 security development tool as well as the View with Role Set tool that did exist within finance and operations until recently. So you have the ability to go to any role due to your privilege within the environment, add it to a quote-unquote mock role, and then assign that to a test user, actually log in as that test user and be able to actually see the resulting security that that user has. All that process is done automatically for you, so it's a much more automated fashion than trying to test this manually. Other features that this solution allows you to do is you can select users that currently exist within your environment, copy their roles into the mock role, and then either add or remove additional security layers to that security. So let's go ahead and take a look at the current features that this solution offers. When you first load the solution, one thing to keep in mind is that there is some prerequisite that has to be done before this solution will actually work. One is to actually install the deployable package that is a part of the GitHub release, and I'll show you where that is here in a little bit. The other thing you have to do is actually create an app registration in your Azure environment, because we have to authenticate from our external application into your F&O instance to actually perform the operations, create the mock role, actually assign it to the user, things like that. So we do that through the set connection area here. So when I bring this up, this actually contains information that we use from a connection standpoint, as well as other parameters that we use to launch the application. So information about your actual app registration that you have to go in and register are up here at the top. So that comes from your app registration itself. Down here at the bottom, you have your service user. So the service user in this case is going to be the user that we are going to assign the mock role to. And then we're actually going to launch a test workspace with that under that user context. So whatever user you'd like that to be. The second piece here is what web browser you want to launch as. My recommendation is to have this be a separate browser than you normally log into F&O with, because then you can stay logged in as your test user in that secondary browser and be able to launch the workspace on a much quicker basis. The final piece here is the service operation endpoint that you would like to use. There are two different options here. If you are a FastPath customer and you currently own our Identity Manager and Security Designer modules, you can utilize the FP Security Designer service group, because that is the service group that is used for our Security Designer piece. If you are not a FastPath customer and you have to install the deployable package that exists within the GitHub project, then you would have to use the AM Security Role Test Workspace service group. We're going to test today utilizing that as if you were not a FastPath customer, but you have both options available for you. Once you go through and set up your connection, you can actually start using the application itself. So the first thing you can do is come in and determine if you want to load current roles, duties, or privileges within your environment. So if you go ahead and hit load security here, this is actually going to go out and make a live call into your F&O environment and pull in your current security that matches that security layer. You'll notice that we're able to pull in both out-of-the-box roles as well as custom third-party roles as well. So there's a couple roles that I've created that are custom in here, and those are getting pulled in. So it doesn't matter where that security is coming from. One way you can go about utilizing the tool is just to come in and select an individual role. You move it over to the Assign Security Layers area. And this is the combination of security that we're actually going to assign to our mock role later on. So you can assign any number of roles you would like. You can then, if you would like to, come to your duties and perform the same action as well. And you can do the same thing at the privilege level. Right? So for every time we load this or go to a different security layer and click load security layers, that's actually making out that live call out to F&O to pull in that those current security roles. Once we come through and start adding these across, you can see that we now have a role, duty, and privilege within this assigned security layers area. And now we can go ahead and test our workspace, right? You could have any number of those that you would like. What's going to happen when we click this Launch Test Workspace button is a couple different things. One is that a role is going to be created within your F&O instance. We'll go ahead and we'll see what that we'll see the resulting of that here in a second. We're then going to go through and assign the roles, duties, and privileges to that role. So all of your roles will be sub roles within this new test role, and then the duties and privileges get assigned there as well. That role that is created will then be assigned to the test user that we talked about earlier. We will then launch a web browser under the context of that test user and try to log into finance and operations using that test user. And that's why having that test user's credentials already saved in that browser will make this process much quicker. So if we go ahead and hit Launch Test Workspace, this is all going to happen behind the scenes. So we'll wait to show what this looks like launching as the test user first, and then we'll actually show what it looks like from the administrative side here as well. So we'll wait for just a second here as this goes out and performs that. And so we can see that we've taken that combination of access that we assigned, that auditor role, the import zip postal codes duty, and the maintain abbreviations privilege. We've assigned that to the user, and if we open this up, we can see that they have access to a number of different modules because the auditor role has the viewability across a lot of different areas within finance and operations. So this is what the end user would see. You can then go through and interact with the system and validate that this user could, that the security that you set up meets the requirements for this user. And once you're finished, you can go ahead and close the browser down. From an administrative side, we can come in and actually look to see a couple different things. One is we can go to the users area here. We can go to that FastPath user that we are using as our test user, and we can see that in this case that the security role test-based workspace role is assigned to this particular user, right? So we know that this is the test role that is getting created, or the mock role that is getting created as part of our solution. If we go into the security configuration area, we can actually view the security that is assigned to that. So if we come down and actually look at that particular security role test workspace, we can see the sub roles that are assigned is the auditor role, the duties is that import zip postal codes, and the privileges that maintain abbreviations, right? So we can see that the security that we set up within the security role test workspace solution matches the security that is now implemented within the application itself. Another thing that we can do is to pull in the assigned security layers of a particular user. So we can come in and maybe we want to mock up security for this Alicia user. Maybe she needs to change security. So we can come in and load her security roles, and we can see that we're able to pull in the currently assigned user roles for this user. And now we can go in and make changes. So we can assign additional roles to this user. We could revoke roles from this user, or we could go to a duty or privilege area as well and assign those to this user as well. So there's really the user role, that load user roles button is just giving you a starting point for certain roles that you want to assign to that mock role, and then you can make the same changes you would as if you started from scratch to this user. So maybe we want to remove the ledger accountant role from this user, and we're going to assign the budget clerk role, and then again we can go ahead and assign a duty and a privilege along this process as well. So if we come in and go ahead, we'll just go through this process here where we're assigning these roles to the user, this duty and this privilege, and again we can go ahead and launch the test workspace. What's happening now that we've already ran it once and we've ran this again, we actually remove the old role from the system, create a new role from that mock role that we assigned, and actually then reassign the security to it. So we do that because we always want to make sure that we're cleaning up the old security that may have been within the environment for that particular role name. So if we come in here now, we can see that we have a different set of workspaces available to this user, and the modules that we can see are going to be different as well, because the security is the same, or the security is different. If we look at the administrative side now again, we can go ahead and refresh this page. If you come down and look at that security role test workspace, we can see in this case the sub roles are the budget clerk, employee, and system user roles now. The duty is that inquiry into absorption costs, and the privilege then is the maintain accounts entity, right? So the security that's assigned to this role is different than last time. One final piece here is that we do have the ability to remove security test role from the system. So once we're done testing, if we want to clean up that role entirely and actually remove its access from the user and actually then delete the role itself, we can go ahead and run this remove security test workspace. And now if we come back into the administrative side and actually refresh this, we can see that the security role test workspace role is no longer listed in the security configuration because it's been removed. And if we come into the user's side, we will be able to see that the role is no longer assigned to the user as well. So we actually clean that up from this user here, so you can see it's only the system user role. All right, so that is kind of a quick overview of what the solution allows you to do. I want to give a quick shout out to all the users that have already helped do the pre-beta testing. This is why we're on version 1.4 already. Obviously, we're getting some feedback, or I'm getting some feedback on different features and functionality and bugs that users have found. So feel free to keep sending those out. Happy to continue to make improvements on this. The final piece that I wanted to show is where you can actually find this. So this is the solution is actually listed on my GitHub page. So github.com/ameyer505/D365 security test workspace. I'll put a link to link in the description of this video to this page. But for those that have not used GitHub before, there's a couple different ways you can actually go about consuming this tool. You always have the ability, GitHub is an open source community, so you can download the code yourself. If you want to go ahead and build it or make changes to it yourself, you can absolutely do that through going through the code and actually cloning it down to your local machine. Or if you want to utilize one of the pre-built releases that I have put together, it's over here on the right hand side. If you come to the releases area here, this will always take you to the newest release. So this will actually have the release information for the latest solution. Down here at the bottom, you'll actually be able to see the exe that we use today. And you'll also have the zip file, and this zip file is the deployable package that you'd have to install if you're not a FastPath customer. So with that, hopefully you find this tool useful in your environment. If you want to provide any feedback, feel free to reach out to me. And thank you for watching today.